Hello and welcome. You're watching the Tov Jewish News Channel. My name is Michael Vilensky, and my guest today is Dr. Mordechai Keidar, an expert on Arab culture and the Middle East. Mordechai, great to have you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
So right now in the world, in Israel, in the West, we see many different people, many different forces calling for a ceasefire, saying stop the war, we have enough of it, we have to, stop it immediately, come to an agreement with Hamas immediately. What do you think of that, as a person who understands Muslim extremism?
Well, I'm not so surprised when it comes to the demands which come from Europe or even from America, which want to cease fire, because for them, Hamas is another organization which could be tolerated. I'm much more worried about voices which come from within Israel, and some politicians definitely express it or express this idea during the last week. And this is very, very dangerous because the Israeli domestic front might be cracked, and the Hamas actually are encouraged not only by the demand of the world, but especially from the demand which comes from within Israel by all kinds of politicians who basically are against the right-wing government which is going now, and they want to topple the government because the government did not stand to its promises to get rid of Hamas by demanding that the government will leave Hamas and prefer to release the hostages if they are all alive. I have no idea if they are or not, or who is alive and who is not. Anyhow, we have to bear in mind that Hamas actually are reading our people's words every day. And when they see the cracks in the dam here inside Israel, they are encouraged and they want to continue the jihad against us. They want to continue the fight against us. And unfortunately, what these politicians like Miki Levy and Gadi Eisenkot, who are talking about ceasing the fire and releasing the hostages only, they are actually, what they say, costs Israeli soldiers' blood, because the jihadists of Hamas continue their fight instead of surrendering because they see the cracks in the Israeli dam. Unfortunately, these people do not understand the Arab mentality and the Islamic mindset, and they are actually encouraging the jihadists to continue and even to increase their fight against us in order to convince us to stop the war. Unfortunately, these people are clueless about the culture around them and how to deal with this Islamic and jihadist culture.
Dr. Keidar, I want to develop on the point you mentioned briefly in your response to my question. And so the liberal society, like Israel, like the West, like Europe, have many advantages over Muslim extremist societies like Gaza, right? Because we're more technologically developed, we have more, international legitimacy, we have a better economy, mostly, usually. But I feel there is one disadvantage we have, which is that we cannot go for long periods into war because we are adapted. We, have the habit of having a certain level of economic prosperity, and whenever we're in war, that economic prosperity is hurt. And after, a couple months of war, we say, yo, we're tired, we don't want this anymore, please stop it, we're ready for any terms. Don't the Muslims who live in
Well,
the
you,
extremist
you're
society
definitely
we
right.
fight have the same
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, you're definitely right. And actually, if you check all of the world, there is not even one case when a democratic country started a war against a dictatorship. It is always vice versa. Means the dictatorship opens fire and opens a war with a democracy. Hamas is a totalitarian Islamic rule over the people of Gaza, and they actually use the Gazans as human shields. They don't even allow them to take refuge or shelter in their tunnels, which they dug hundreds of kilometers of tunnels under Gaza, but the citizens of Gaza and the people who live in Gaza are not allowed to find shelter in these tunnels because Hamas couldn't care less about the people. And even more, they are using the numbers which Israel unfortunately is killing because of the war. They use them as a pretext against Israel, or to use them to show the world how vicious Israel is. And this is unfortunately what happens in Gaza. Israel, as a democratic state, cannot live side by side with an ISIS-like organization named Hamas, because they are exactly like us, the same ideology, the same modus operandi, the same fight, the same goal to eradicate anything which is not Islamic in order to spread Islam all over the world, starting here with Palestine, which once was an Islamic country, and the West liberated it from the Islamic occupation in the First World War. Israel is a state of Jews who came back to their forefathers' land in order to stay here forever. And yes, we Jews are more than willing to defend our country, our land, our state. And the jihadists do not like it any at all, because in their view, Judaism should be subjugated to Islam, and Jews should be subjugated to Muslims as dhimmis, because the religion is null and void. Judaism is null and void, just like Christianity. The Jews are not a nation, they don't deserve a state, and the land is Islamic and should be Islamic forever. And this is why they fight us, in order to save Islam from the danger of the resurrection of Judaism. And this is actually what the fight is about, profoundly. We have to show them that we Jews, we have a valid religion. Our religion is alive and kicking, and if needed, alive and killing. Why? Because we want to live on our forefathers' land, to which we came back after 19 centuries of exile, including exile in Islamic countries. And this is actually, Michael, what we are fighting. We are fighting jihadists who are waging a religious war against us, and therefore we have to make sure that they are totally defeated, decisively defeated, and everybody, including them, knows very well what the results of the fight is. Israel should be the victorious, while they should lose their jihad. Otherwise, they will continue on Europe, and the Atlantic Ocean is not wide enough to keep America away from this danger of jihadism.
Dr. Keidar, what does victory mean? How do you win? In which terms how should victory look like over a jihadist movement?
It is a problem, because the idea of jihad is very hard to kill, but at least for the foreseeable future, and I'm talking about years, everybody should bear in mind what happened to Hamas. Hamas, which opened the vicious, barbaric war against us on October 7th, should be punished by being eradicated, both militarily and civil presence of Hamas in Gaza. Gaza should return to be governed by normalcy, either by the, I think the best is by the local clans, which will behave in a peaceful way with Israel, mainly because they are afraid of Israel, but also because they want to live, make living, make good life, work, prosperity, and not jihadism, because jihadism actually brought disaster on them, and this should be engraved into their memory and awareness.
Dr. Mordechai Keidar, thank you very much for your insight, for your knowledge, and for sharing it with us. Always a great interviews with you.
Thank you.
Thank you also to all of our viewers that saw this interview. Please don't forget to subscribe to us here under this video, to our YouTube channel, and to all of our other social media platforms. Thank you again, and have a great day.